Hello everyone. Today's video is brought to you by Stoker's Tub Chew. When you need a good chew with a delicious flavor, Stoker's Tub Chew. No, they don't pay me. I just really like it. It's good stuff. It's delicious. It's got kind of a sweet, delicious flavor like a leaf tobacco. Only it's a long cut. Yeah, it's really long cut. It's actually kind of obnoxious to get out of the can. Boy, good. Most delicious chewing tobacco I've ever. Comes with its own refillable can. All right. Enough about Stoker's Tub Chew. On to the subject of the day. The JXP 10. Get that in the light. Hand cannon. Yeah. All right. So checking for clear. Nothing but gunpowder on the spent gunpowder on the clip. Why is it locked? Oh, safety was on. The empty. Nothing in there. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Get the light on the. Nope, can't get it on. Anyway, I can see there's no bullets in there. So, yeah. The safety doubles as the slide lock. Got the safety up in the next notch forward. The slide lock. Nice, nice. Yeah, so I just returned from my first range trip with the JXP 10, which is 10 millimeter high point. Side note, the slide on the JXP 10 millimeter is not the pot metal that we're all familiar with on the 9 millimeter high points. This is a steel alloy. This is pressure tested and is plus P rated. So steel slide on the JXP. So very nice, very nice. What else? 50 flawless rounds through this today. No hangups of any kind. I did, however, set myself up for success. I lubricated the underside of the barrel, which, if you look at it, the slide touches the bottom of the barrel or is in contact with it, but not the top. So I just lubricated the barrel, lubricated the spring follower slot underneath the barrel there. There's a tab on the bottom of here that the spring is behind, spring retainer. Slides back and forth inside this polymer there. Put a little oil in there, and the slide point underneath here. Put a drop on each one of those little devils. I put a drop in the doll's head channel, which could be the most important, because the doll's head is what this whole thing, it holds the whole thing on, and the whole thing rides on that little teeny metal doll's head there. And when you open this up, there's a slot that it rides in. Put a little oil in there. You don't want to get crazy, because people say don't get oil because the firing pin is at the front of that spring. So people say don't get oil on that. It will gunk up your gun. It won't fire. So those are my lubrication points for setting myself up for 50 rounds of flawless, successful high point action. What else? Oh, it's not very ergonomic. The stories are true, sadly. The trigger, when you get it, has a very sharp point at the end of the bottom of the trigger. Just really, really aggressive. So if you've got a little teeny finger, it probably fits in there nice. Mine didn't. It's extremely painful to pull that trigger with that sharp point at the bottom of it. Also, once you get your fat finger squeezed on that trigger, this is so small that the fat at the bottom of your finger hanging off the bottom gets pinched in there. So I made two modifications. I got my little China. I have a Dremel tool, but I couldn't find it. But I have one of those cheap little China ones, you know, the little 9-volt adapter plug-in. Oh yeah. And I put a little sander on that, little sander wheel. I sanded this out as thin as I could, and I ground the end of that trigger off there. So that sorry about that. Yeah. And so yeah. So the trigger feels really nice to me. I mean, there again, small fingered people probably wouldn't have any problem with that. And I've seen people say, "Oh, I love this trigger." Well, I got it, and no. And yeah, the pressure, the break of the trigger is sometimes random. There's a little slop in it. A little bit of slop in it. Normally the wall is directly after the slop in the trigger. I can't even pull it. There it went. Oh, see, that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes the wall is halfway through the stroke of the trigger, and sometimes it's right at the front. And another modification I made to this is there are a lot of sharp edges on these grips. Where your safety resides, there's a cutout, sharp edges all the way around it, pokey corners. I took this off, filed all the sharp edges. Back at the back here, at the hand grip, there's a sharp point. So on this side, but I filed both of them. I filed that off, make it nice and round, and filed the edge off here. This was sharp at the top, and all the corners. I filed everything nice, so it looks like, you know, high end. They actually had someone at the plant, you know, finishing the edges on the plastic. So yeah, so those are another two important things for success on your first range trip. File all the sharp edges off of the hand grips. And as I had this hand grip off, I saw the reason for the horrible trigger. It is underneath this is your trigger mechanism, and it's like two really long pieces of metal. One's got a notch in it, and you know, you pull the trigger, and the other really long piece comes down and allows it to. It's quite a contraption. So for some reason, with this type of blowback, you're not able to put a trigger setup in the normal spot. So it's like made out of straps of metal on the side. So that's the reason. So in all the videos I watch, which I obsessively research this, as I always do, and no one mentions that. No one mentions the obvious reason for the horrible trigger pull. I have discovered what it is. It's the long mechanical system on the outside of underneath the grip, but on the outside of the gun for the trigger. And that makes it and I put a drop of oil on that too. I could see it in here, so I just stuck a little drop of oil on it to help. And it's not terrible. I would say 7 out of 10 shots that firewall is right there after the little bit of slop. And then every once in a while, for some reason, you got to pull the trigger halfway back before you hit the brake, which I would imagine one of those long pieces of metal in there, not fully engaging with the notch sometimes. So it's not right there. Like when it's fully engaged, it's right there, bam. And then when it's partially engaged, you got to pull the trigger back further. So janky trigger, true story, yeah, but not terrible. I mean, if there's a bear charging at you, you're gonna pull that trigger plenty hard enough. Also, a lot of people complain about this large slide being clunky. I did not experience the clunkiness at all. It's just like shooting a regular, semi-auto. But that could be, proper lubrication, perhaps. Yeah, yeah. What else? What else? Oh, the clip. Also, the springs in the clip are notoriously weak. So there's a bunch of videos on YouTube about how to do some little bendies in the sides of your spring on both sides to strengthen the spring in the clip. So I did that. The follower on this 10 millimeter is like shaped to fit inside the clip. It has a really good follower. It has a really good no tilt follower, unlike the old 9 millimeters that had that piece of tin that you had to like bend the spring in a certain way to hold the end of the follower up. This is very nice. This completely does. You can push down on the end of it. Doesn't tip at all. Goes straight down. So they did for the, at least for these 10 millimeters, make a nice plastic follower. And also sometimes the little tabs on the very end where the bullet sets are too tight, and that will hold the end of the bullet down and cause it to try to go into the chamber too straight, causing a jam. So that's another thing. You can see them two little ears. See that little ear there? You might have to, and there's a little bend in that kind of forms to the shape of the nose of the bullet. If your bullet is not sliding easily between those two little tabs, you might want to bend those out a little bit. Those two tabs there. So a way to check it, you just take a bullet, like the brass of the bullet, and just slide it in there. Just make sure that no hang up there. Do not touch the ears in the back, however. That is what holds the bullet in the clip, so you don't want to mess that up. That's very important to keep that. That's what holds the bullet in. This back part is, might need to free up a little space on your ear here, but don't mess with these. Holds the bullet in there. And it loads very easy. About till you get to the 10th bullet, it loads pretty easy. But you'll see how my bullet there is right along the edge of that ear. That's how you want that to look. You don't want those little nibbids in the front to hold your bullet like that. You don't want it to be held down like that. You want it up and even with that. That was so. I like to tinker with things, so most people don't want to mess with this stuff, and so they'll spend another, well, probably $150 for a Glock law enforcement trade-in, which is what I was gonna do. But if you're not on the ball and have your money all ready to go, as soon as they hit like Palmetto State or wherever those law enforcement trade-in 10 millimeters, gone. I mean, you gotta be online the day they put those up and snag one right away, because they get snatched up quick. Everything else, there's plenty of them. The 40 Smith & Wesson, the 9 millimeters, the 45 ACP, there's an abundance of those. So no problem getting those. And you can get those for what, like about $350, law enforcement trade-in. 10 millimeter, the one that I wanted, of course, everyone else wants. And so, yeah, the last time that happened, I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to spend $150 less and try out this 10 millimeter yeet cannon. This is all made and assembled here in America, unlike other expensive handguns. So And you know, just with a little bit of common sense tweaking, you can make it comfortable to shoot, and you can make it shoot flawlessly. Because just in the videos that I watched and the small corrections I made before I went out to the range, 0 flaws, 50 rounds, just smooth as butter, no clunkiness to the slide at all. It's just like shooting, it's like shooting a Glock or any other semi-auto slide gun. And it has a substantial kick, but I'm going to say probably not as much of a kick as a normal slide 10 millimeter auto due to the weight. But that weight is actually coming back towards you, stopping and going forward. So there is some, you know, it's probably a different kind of a recoil impulse than what, you know, because your normal semi-auto, when you shoot a 10 millimeter auto out of it, it's doing this. You can just see it, just watch it sometime when somebody's shooting on the internet. That thing's flying up in the air. This thing doesn't do that. It kicks pretty good, but it's not doing this. So target acquisition is probably a little bit better with this baby than a normal one. So that's cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with everybody that, you know, if you're, you know, you like to tinker around with stuff, you know, and make little tweaks here and there to maybe make something that's not so expensive work, definitely for you. But, you know, and some of these, I've seen a lot of videos, they straight out of the box function perfectly. But I've also seen a lot of videos where, you know, people just have absolutely no clue what might be causing, you know, it to jam up. Or limp wristing is also, when I fire this, my arms are nearly locked. I do the double-handed grip it firmly, make sure my hand isn't anywhere near the slide, because people, I've seen at least one person did a video, was getting a little slide bite off it. But with my normal grip, no slide bite. And just, yeah, it was an absolute joy to shoot this, because you can feel the power and intensity of the round, but it's not, you know, doesn't punish you that bad. So you know, I think, yeah, I would use this as a bear gun and trust my life to it. But there again, you know, we all have to die at some point, so I'm not terribly worried. I mean, you know, there are worse ways to go than getting mauled by a bear, I suppose. So, I don't know, but I would say there's at least a good 90% chance that thing's gonna go off for you. And then, as I'm out at the range too, I am imagining a large grizzly bear barreling down on me, and I scream, "Bear!" And then I start shooting it. Yeah, a lot of fun. Had a good time. And you know, everybody, a lot of people have probably done this, but we'll show the difference in the twixt the 9mm bullet and the 10mm bullet. These are, there's one in the middle. The 40 Smith & Wesson is the same size bullet. The 10mm is the same as a 40 caliber. So the 40 Smith & Wesson uses the same bullet, but has a little shorter brass, more like the 9mm. So there is an in between, but this is the 9 compared to the 10mm auto. So there's also an argument, if a bear is charging at you, you can probably put 10 of these in that bear by the time you get about 3 of these in there. So, but this one's going to penetrate into vital areas where this is just going to be like, you know, knocking a hornet's nest over probably for him. Just... So yeah, there you have it. The JXP or JPX? JXP 10mm auto high point, American made steel slide, not composite. Well, it is steel alloy, but not the funny pot metal stuff the smaller ones are made out of. Yep. And they had to do that, I'm sure, to handle the extra power of the 10mm round plus the plus P's. Once again, plus P rated, pressure tested. Very nice, very fun. I just like the way it looks. It looks kind of like a, like a sci-fi laser gun. Pretty cool. It's got the serrations are very nice. Very nice serrations. You can grab by the front good, grab by the back good. Yep. But you have to be very deliberate. If you're gonna cock this gun or chamber around by pulling the slide, you really gotta pull it back till you feel that sucker hit the wall and let go of it. And it'll work perfect every time if you do it like that. But you can't can't you pull it back? Kind of, you can't limp noodle it. Be very deliberate with its firearm. I prefer to use the combination safety slide release. So I'll put the safety up into the slide release there. Pull that baby down. Bam! Puts that shell right in there. Right in there. Yeah. That's why I like to do it. Which kind of sucks because when it's on lockback, after you shoot a clip, you have to do it manually to, you have to. So I'll actually release it, pull it back, set it, put the clip in, and then release it with the slide release, just because it's so much more positive, so much more aggressive, that it ensures the round chambers better than trying to pull it back and let go of it. That's not as good as putting that in there. Going like, so yeah, hear the difference, how much more aggressive it is if you use that slide release. And the first bullet's the tightest bullet in that clip, and it's the hardest one for this to chamber. So if it's with this particular one anyway, if it's going to mess up, it's going to be on that first bullet. This actually likes, as the spring loosens up, as the bullets are the way I have this right now, it likes the looser ones. They chamber easier. But there again, I didn't have any clunkiness or anything like that. But I can understand why you would, because if everything with your clip and everything is, and it's a clip, I would say 90% clip oriented. Any kind of chambering fails you get with this is this little devil. And the reason why that is because the feed ramp on this has machining marks on it. It's not polished. So there's another thing you could set yourself up for success. If you wanted to take this apart, polish that feed ramp, boy, then you'd really have a slick operating unit, which I may do. If I don't have any issues, I don't think I'm going to go through the trouble. Maybe, I mean, I'm going to shoot this until it starts getting gunked up so bad it won't shoot, which I'm not sure ever happens. I mean, these things are kind of just famous for, you get one that works and you just can shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and not really do any maintenance on it. I'll be putting drops of oil on it here and there. And if it starts getting a little getting real dirty and starting to hang up a little bit, I'm going to tear this down. And when I tear it down to clean it, I may polish that feed ramp. Because, for sub $200, they don't have time to, they just machine that and they stick it in there, and, no one's polishing it to a sheen, which, your higher end, even my Taurus has a smooth feed ramp. So this is, yeah, that's another thing. If you really want this thing to function flawlessly, polish your feed ramp. Yeah. And the reason why these are not fun to disassemble, it doesn't just have a slide, release to take the slide off. You have to physically take right in that little notch there when you're locked back. Anyway, you just have to take my word for it. There is a roll pin in there. And in order to disassemble this, you have to take one roll pin out. So, which, in my mind, holding On your normal guns, you've got that little release right there to release your slide. And boy, let me tell you, holding that sucker down and pulling that slide back to get it off, it's not fun either. So it's a little bit harder with the high point, but when you consider how hard it is to use these releases, that's a Taurus G3, by the way, my first pistol purchase, which I'm very fond of. Zero of the several years I've had it. I haven't shot it a lot. I've only recently found a place to start shooting, so, but flawless. Runs and runs and runs. I'll take it apart and clean it every once in a while just cause. no, it doesn't act like it's going to have any trouble. So yeah, I think that's it for now. We'll let you all go. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful evening, lunchtime, supper, nighttime, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.